ASMR review show. For this video, we are going to be talking about the films of famed French-Canadian director Denis Villenueve, also known as Denis Villeneuve. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that made the mistake seeing his name at the end credits of Prisoners, which was the first of his films that I saw and the one that got me into watching his films. And yeah, he's a great director. Probably my favorite, newer, modern director, though I don't know if he counts as new because his first film was actually the late 90s, but then he took nearly 10 years off from the filmmaking and he came back swinging quite hard, and he's been going steady ever since. He's got Dune Part 2 coming out early next year. Very disappointed that it got delayed, but it was because of the writers and actors strikes, so I guess it is a justifiable cause. That's just me being a little, spoiled, shall we say. So yeah, looking forward to that. Perhaps this video might be a little premature in that case, but I'm sure that Dune Part 2 is going to be quite a good movie. I doubt it'll drop the ball. So yeah, let's get into it then. The tier list video for all of Denis Villeneuve's films as of now. First off, looks like we have Dune to start, which I loved a lot. And yeah, it's only half a movie, but is it really half of a movie, or is it just The Godfather in space? I would say it's The Godfather in space. Everyone was comparing it to the first half of the first third of Fellowship of the Ring, and that's not what it is. It's a story about a guy who's a big head-time honcho and's got a big business that he runs and a family, and other crime families try to cut him out of the business, and they end up murdering him, and his son regretfully takes up his empire, knowing that it will lead him down a path of self-destruction and inevitably cause the deaths of many. That's The Godfather, and that's Dune. And The Godfather is the greatest movie of all time, right? So therefore Dune is also an S-tier movie. I thought about that, should I not overrate it before I've seen Part 2? But, this is everything I wanted from a Dune movie. I read the book recently, and I'm very impressed how well this movie captures the spirit of the book, with some creative liberties here and there, and they couldn't do everything, unfortunately. No dinner scene, but it does a pretty good job of it. And I still do like David Lynch's Dune, but it's not a perfect movie. But it's got a fun style to it. So this is the Dune I wanted to see. I love it a lot. S tier for me. Can't wait for Part 2. Next up we have Enemy, which I think was actually filmed before Prisoners, but was released later, because I don't remember actually seeing it come out anywhere until 2014, but it's got a 2013 release date because festivals and stuff like that. Enemy is a movie that took me a long time to watch because it has photorealistic giant CGI spiders, and I'm not a fan of photorealistic giant CGI spiders, so this will really trigger your arachnophobia, if that's a thing. But once I got over that, I found myself watching probably one of the best David Lynchian films that is not done by David Lynch, and really captured that element of dreamlike state. So Enemy is an A-tier movie for me. Very good, highly underrated. If I were to ever meet David Lynch, the one question I would ask him would be, have you seen Enemy? I really think you should watch this movie. The other question I would ask him is what he thinks, besides Dune, is his least spiritual film. We all know that Eraserhead is his most spiritual film, and he will not elaborate on that. I'd like to know what he thinks his least spiritual is, besides Dune, because we know that's the answer. But enough about David Lynch, more about Denis Villeneuve. Enemy's a great movie. Short, sweet, trippy, interesting, very rewatchable. 2 Jake Gyllenhaals for the price of 1. Very great indeed. Next we have Polytechnique, which was his first film coming back after the sabbatical that he was on, or the break that he had from filmmaking. And it's a dramatization of the 1989 Polytech school shooting massacre, where some dude thought that he was like proving a point by shooting a bunch of people, you know? Okay, yeah, no, not a great plan, pretty dumb of you. And I'd like to think the movie highlights that, you know, it takes, you know, a person who wanted to cause a lot of harm and devastation and shows how hope can grow out of that. And it ends up being quite a great feminist message film, while totally putting down this absolute horrible misogynist of a person. It doesn't even name this guy. He does not have a name in the movie, because we should not be remembering people's names like this, right? We should recognize the actions and learn from them, and move on from that. So yeah, it's very well done. It's just, you know, it's hard to watch because it plays out, you know, more like a horrific documentary. So it's not an easy watch. But it's very good. So, you know, in terms of a movie, that's probably like an A tier. But again, we're going to spread out the ranking a little bit to kind of cover all the tiers. So for Denis Villeneuve, it's a B tier movie. But, you know, it was a very important one to make. And it's not an easy watch, you know. Like, Denis Villeneuve, he's been into like the dark, realistic, gritty-looking sci-fi movies, but his earlier stuff is just misery and depression and all of the negative feelings. Yeah, so that was the mid-phase of him, his midlife phase, shall we say. And he's moved on from there, but I think it'd be cool if he went back and did something small scale like this one again, like this, or maybe some more psychological shenanigans like Enemy. That'd be pretty cool. Next we have Sicario, which of course many people like, and it's kind of an odd one. First of all, I don't get why they've used all the official posters except that one. Maybe they didn't want to use the floating heads poster for Sicario. But yeah, this one is very good. Just kind of an outlier because it's like it's the last one between the dark psychological thrillers and the sci-fi movies. It was a transitory one of him working with clearly a bigger budget, more of an ensemble cast, and it's very good, so it's A tier for me. Really love that one a lot. Rightfully on many people's best of lists. Everyone talks about the border shootout scene, and yeah, that's like great, but there's also a lot of great moments after that in the film, specifically following Benicio del Toro's character to the ending. And I like how it was kind of a twist on a revenge film, you know, by following Emily Blunt's character. That was real good. It's shot beautifully, just, yeah, everything about that one is great. Definitely A tier movie for me. Then we have Arrival, which is a great science fiction film. It was one that I was really hoping would be good, and it surprised me in a lot of ways. S tier for me as well. Can you sense a trend here that I'm really loving? That Denis Villeneuve's in his hardcore science fiction phase, right? After Dune, I want the Rendezvous with Rama movie, okay? Morgan Freeman has wanted to do it. Christopher Nolan clearly referenced it at the end of Interstellar with the spaceship being a giant cylinder. Denis Villeneuve, you've talked about it. Give me the Rendezvous with Rama movie already, okay? We can make this happen, I swear, and it'll be epic. And then I can finally understand what the heck the book was about, because I read that so long ago. But on the subject of Arrival, I like that it was just a good straight-up science fiction movie, but it was about ideas and concepts and language, but also about aliens and time travel, the bending of reality, time as not a linear thing. You know, it definitely did the time and future past concept perhaps a little more solid than what Interstellar did. But I still love Interstellar, of course. Yeah, just great. You know, we get usually a pretty good grounded sci-fi movie once every year, right? 2012, Prometheus. 2013, Gravity. 2014, Interstellar. 2015, The Martian. 2016, Arrival. 2017, well, that'll be later on the list. Yeah, so it's a great movie. Only thing I can say is I don't watch it that much. I think I've actually only seen it twice since it's come out, but that's okay. Some great movies you don't need to watch all the time. You just have to know that they're great, and Arrival is a pretty great one. Then we have August 32nd on Earth. Denis Villeneuve's first movie, and definitely an interesting one. His style for the first two movies is not exactly reminiscent of what you would picture him to go on to do, but you can see the seeds of it there, of what he's gonna do. It's okay, you know, I don't think he has any bad films, they're all good. It's just some are more gooder than others. So, August 32nd, that's a C-tier movie. It's got some very pretty shots of the salt flats and stuff, and definitely a bit of a funny, quirky concept. And maybe some of that French New Wave inspiration, some of the editing or the color choices. But ultimately, I don't think there was enough of this story-wise to stretch it out to a full-length film. But hey, eventually it led to more Denis Villeneuve and his obsession with long shots of deserts, so I guess you could say the seeds were there from the beginning. I'm not sure I really liked the ending. It was odd, the implications of it. Very odd. Then next we have Blade Runner 2049. S-tier from me. Yeah, love it so much. It was like everything I wanted it to be, and yet nothing like what I wanted. It was like a great sequel that took the style, really updated it for the modern setting. It didn't care about trying to have modern pacing. It really took its time with the atmosphere and the world building. It wasn't going at like J.J. Abrams' level of pacing, right? Really would have loved to see perhaps what, like, you know, Stanley Kubrick would have thought of some movies like this. I'd love to see what he thought about Interstellar or this. That'd be really great to see. Visual effects absolutely off the charts. Cinematography by Roger Deakins. And what he finally won the Oscar for it. About time. Technical achievement on every level. We got Ryan Gosling being a total stoic badass. Ana de Armas being absolutely gorgeous and also very tragic. Jared Leto was mercifully only in like 2 or 3 scenes. And yeah, Harrison Ford actually brings his A game to this quite well. A couple of really great moments of emotion from him, really selling it. Yeah, so everything about it I love. There's very few films that I can just simply watch, and it takes no effort for me to just sit and watch it, but this is one of them. A true masterpiece. Nobody went to see it. Next up we have Incendies. Incendies is a movie that I was dreading watching because I saw the poster to it, and I thought, when that scene comes up in the movie, it's going to happen right after something really awful has occurred. Am I right? Well, yes, I was right. The only problem was it was halfway through the movie, and it only got worse from there as the movie went on. And, like, there's no official chart of, like, most depressing endings to a film ever. But this is probably definitely top 5 material, you know. What a horrifying twist indeed. What an absolute nightmare of a film. Yeah, so it's real good, but I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. If I do, it'll be to just see all the hidden threads, understanding it beforehand. And I don't know if I'll recommend this one to anyone unless you say, hey, I want to have a bad time. Well, I've got something for you. A movie more terrifying than horror movies, with a gasp moment, more horrific than any jump scare could ever hope to be. Right? Yeah, so it's a real good one. But again, am I gonna go back to it that much? I'm not sure. So, you know, I think it's tough for me, right? A, B, A, B, A. You know what? Is A tier, really. I try to do these rankings to spread out the tiers a little bit so you also get a sense of, like, how I would rank these films. But I just love Denis Villeneuve's style so much, so it's gonna be quite skewed towards the top. What can I say? And then we have Maelstrom. Oh, it's not that great either. This is the second of Denis Villeneuve's films, and the last one before he took a near 10-year break from filmmaking. And it's got some cool ideas. It's narrated by a talking fish at the abattoir on the chopping block, so that's cool. Not many movies have done that. It's an interesting story. It's shot very interestingly, very 2000s in style, and that's kind of cool, a little time capsule. But yeah, not really one that I'm gonna come back to personally. Not so interesting for me. Yeah, so that one for Denis Villeneuve, it's a D tier movie, but I still do like it. It's probably on the same level of August 32nd, but at least August 32nd has some cool shots of the salt flats. Maelstrom has a talking fish. Right? Oh well. Yeah, I'd say if you can find copies of these films, they might be worth checking out if you're really into Denis Villeneuve. But worst case Ontario, you're not missing too much. In fact, I've seen some people do like Denis Villeneuve tier lists and rankings where they just start with Polytechnique. They don't even count these first two films. That's kind of how it is. It's like people not counting Piranha 2, The Spawning, when they talk about James Cameron. And then last and certainly not least, we have Prisoners, which is A tier movie for me. I guess technically Incendies is a B tier because I put Enemies, Sicario, and Prisoners above it. Technically, but you know, it's also great, so they're all A tier movies for me. But Prisoners was the first Denis Villeneuve film I saw, and that really got me, and I was so invested in the way it was shot and the characters and just the slowness to it, but the brutality and just the unabashedness to it. Definitely one of my favorite surprise hits of that year. And you know, he's only gotten even better from there, right? As you can see by my tier list ranking. Definitely one of Hugh Jackman's best performances. Everyone talks about him as Wolverine, but I'd say his best performances are here and in The Fountain, where he made you cry over a tree. And in here, it's like the antithesis of like the hardcore, good Christian, conservative, prepper dad, right? You know, he'd normally be like a hero in these types of movies, but here it kind of exposes him for kind of doing the right thing, and it kind of helping, but also kind of not. Because, like, really, in the end, the one daughter ends up, spoiler alert, freeing herself, and it has nothing to do with his investigation, right? He helps in the end, but it's mostly due to, like, the cops helping out. So that's pretty good. Yeah, love that one a lot. So, as you can see, we've got early Denis Villeneuve was like him finding his footing and getting somewhere here. And we have middle of him doing, real dark, horrific, depressing, psychological, or just straight up crime thrillers. And now we have his science fiction era. It was why I knew when Blade Runner 2049 was announced that it was in good hands if he was directing. And he was going to do Dune, and that's been everything I've hoped it to be. Can't wait for Dune Part 2. Gonna be absolutely fantabulous. Maybe they'll make a Part 3 with Dune Messiah. I don't know, I've only read the first book. And yeah, get me that Rendezvous with Rama movie while we're at it. But also, if he'd like to, do something other than sci-fi and not be typecast as that, I'd understand it. It's like, I like the Jordan Peele's doing horror movies, but if he wanted to do something else, it's not like, he's exclusively limited to that. I don't like the idea that directors have to have one genre of movie, right? Look at Stanley Kubrick. He did sci-fi, then he did crime, and then horror, and then 17th century, 18th century period drama, and then war movie, anti-war movie, psychosexual surreal thriller, right? He did everything, and was the master of the genres, right? Ridley Scott just kind of does whatever he wants, because he doesn't really write his scripts, he's a director for hire. So, if he does want to do something else, that'd be okay. Maybe he could go back to doing some small-scale, depressing thrillers. That'd be cool, too. I don't know. But, in any case, that's my tier list of Denis Villeneuve. We'll see what Dune Part 2 is. And please don't get delayed again. I'll be very disappointed. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. I'll catch you next time. Have a good night.